Welcome to the Four Peaks Parents Podcast with Thomas Miller. Are you tired of your tweens, teens, and young adults' negative behaviors and poor choices holding you emotionally hostage, controlling your family, and ruling your life? Do you feel like you're riding an emotional roller coaster every time you walk into your house? If you answered yes, then you're in the right place. This podcast is a community for courageous parents just like you who come here to gain effective tools, skills, and learn concrete action steps that they can take to be more confident, calmer, and more empowered while parenting and changing their tween, teen, or young adult's life and improving their family's future. Welcome to the Four Peaks Parents Podcast with your host, Thomas Miller. So happy to have you here. Today's topic is, are you grieving the loss of your kid's childhood? Think about that. If you have a teenager, you probably on some level, or a young adult, are grieving the times when you can snuggle and cuddle and read with them. And oh my God, watch the Disney movies. I mean, anytime Facebook memory pops up, I do cry. I cried like a tiny tear. I'm being serious. Like, it's amazing. Like, everyone tells you, like, oh my God, it goes so fast. They grow so fast. Like, take pictures. Like, don't miss the moment, blah, blah, blah. And of course, it's all true. We all get it. But damn, it goes fast. And as much as I, of course, love my tweenagers, I have teenager and a tweenager. I have a 6th and a 9th grader, and I love them despite how much they smell. But I love them. Wouldn't change a thing. Love that they're, especially my oldest, oh my God, going through the separation, individuation phase and doing him. And I, of course, am not so smart, and my stock is on the complete decline. It can be hard. And this topic actually comes from one of the Four Peaks parents groups from last week. This mom was like embarrassed to admit it, that she's having a really hard time. Like, she feels like she's lost her friend. And it got everyone very emotional, myself included. Like, I'm a parenting freaking expert, right? I've been doing this crap for 23 years, and I'm the biggest fan of kids separating and individuating and having agency and going and having a bigger world and not being cloistered. And my enemy, honestly, for the last 20 years of my life, and will probably be the next 20 years, is codependency. So many families that I work with are meshed and codependent, and they struggle to have healthy limits or healthy boundaries, or they don't allow their teens or young adults to emerge, and then they've cocooned them. And guess what? Now they have anxiety, depression. Now they're afraid of everything. Now they're not able to go and be so badass, if you will, and be so resilient and step fully into adulthood. And that was cooked way back when from a more enmeshed dynamic. Or I have the other extreme of a detached dynamic where parents are aloof and aren't really connected and flying way too high. And oh my God, just kind of like a drive-by over their kids. So I either have the flying so low, creating compression, or the so high, detached. So I know all this crap. I know that separation, individuation, teenagers, becoming healthily self-absorbed, the parent stock decreasing, the friend stock going up, the need to seek new groups, the need to try on new things, to be curious, to take risks, to separate and, again, become more autonomous and individualized. Wonderful. Great. But it still hurts. It still hurts, right? We're humans. And it does feel like just the other day, right? Like, my son was riding on my back. I used to do this thing, which I learned from my dad, called the bucking bronco, which was like they'd sit on my backs. And that's probably why I have back issues now and see a chiropractor every now and again. But I used to be on all fours, and it would be so awesome. How long can you last on the bucking bronco, and be throwing them all over the place, right? And it was the best. And they used to look at me like I was Superman, right? And there's a tiny bit of that, tiny bit, but it is waning by the day, right? So each of you can identify this transition. And if we're not careful, myself included, I've been struggling a little bit, is it's like almost a death. It's almost like you're grieving the loss of your best friend. And I would never want a parent to make their child, right, be responsible for their own wellness. And so that's not what this is about. This is just about giving you permission to share that you are actually going through your own grieving process. And if you don't handle it well, it's going to kick your butt. So we gotta handle it well. That's the point of this podcast, right? Is we actually have to mourn the younger version of our kids. And there's ways to do that, right? I don't know if anyone's ever heard like the stages of grief and all that. It was created by a woman called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and she actually was doing hospice work. And so a lot of people have misappropriately connected this to the grieving process, but she was just talking about the process of when someone's dying. But there's good stuff there, right? There's denial, there's shock, there's disbelief, there's anger, there's bartering, there's depression, and then eventually there's acceptance. I may have screwed up the order. You can fact check me. I think I got it right, though, actually. And we go through that with our teens. There's shock, there's disbelief, there's anger, there's bartering, right? If you will, I will. There might be a little depression in terms of us feeling like we're losing our kid. And if you have a child that makes you feel like wallpaper or views you as a cash machine, or a Lyft or Uber driver, or the only reason they want you for is food. And you can even feel it, right? When they leave their cave, right? They actually emerge out of the layer, I hope they're not a tween, because this would be, you need to kick that door down a little bit in a good way and get more involved. But let's say it's a teen, not a tween, right? Or definitely a young adult. You could just feel, right, that they are, oh my God, ticking down the seconds to get out of this interaction because they have more pressing things to do, like watch that freaking TikTok thing, that they've already been doing for like 82 hours, or jump on Snap, or play video games, or Call of Duty, or whatever the hell it is, right? Or talk to their friends or their partners, or potentially smoke pot or vape or drink or whatever that is, which I hope that's a whole other podcast episode. Please front load your expectations. Please do not allow your kids to be drinking or drugging in your house, right? And if they are, right, you could certainly reach out to me, and we could staff up about how to handle that, what to do, and strategize next steps. But again, you could feel it. It's like palpable, right? When they're like in your presence, but not really in your presence. And as much as I can tell you intellectually, there's some healthy things here going on, and this is actually needed. They need to go there to go somewhere else, right? That in fact, this is part of that separation individuation phase that they're building, right? Their new personality, they're building their what's called schema, which means worldview. It's kind of perspective of everything. It's still painful. It still can hurt, and it can still kick you in the you know what, right? If you're not careful. And you are mourning the end of an era. And you're not alone. You're not alone. And if you remember the way things used to be, let's be real, things were probably a lot easier. Little kids, and of course, terrible twos, terrible threes, whatever it is. Of course, there's sleepless nights. Of course, there's, pushback. Of course, when kids are younger, they start debating, which is actually the emergence of their personality, which is a good thing, right? Because they start realizing you can't control me all the time. And we want to actually, believe it or not, support that and authenticate that, right? But let's be real, things were easier. Kids are a little bit more concrete, right? You could do cool things like the yes set, which is a skill I teach parents all the time of tweens or younger kids, which is like you ask them a series of questions you're going to get a yes to, with the last one being the question you want them to say yes to. And it sounds like this. Hey, do you want to see your friend this today? Yeah. Do you want me to possibly drop you and the friend off at the mall? Yeah. Do you want maybe to get food with them, and I'd even kick in some money? Yeah. Do you maybe even want them to sleep over? Yeah. Cool. Do you want to help me mow the lawn? No. Okay, well, just so you know, we're going to run through that again. And every one of those questions, right, all hinges upon the last question being a yes. But hey, you decide, right? You go through that again. That's a great technique. It's called the yes set. And you're building momentum around them saying yes. Obviously, you got to deliver on all of those things you said yes to. So be mindful of maybe a bit off more than you can chew. But it's a nice little way to create some negotiation. And kids who are younger are super concrete and black and white. So when you get older or kids get older, right, things start changing. It's different. It's not so authoritative. It's again, should never, I don't think teenage or adolescence should be 100% a democracy, but you have to approach them more democratically. You have to approach them as a quasi friend. You really do. It can be hard. I see parents lose their mind all the time because they're used to just kind of, nope, this is how it is, you know? Think about even when kids are younger, right? Words like before and after are brilliant, right? Before you watch TV, you just need to clean your room. After you clean your room, then you can watch TV, right? Before, right, you, whatever, leave this room, put away your dish. After you put away your dish, then you can have some screen time, whatever that is. You empty the dishwasher, whatever that is, before and after. Words like either or, right? So you can either, right, eat your peas or not get ice cream. You decide. So those techniques are great for younger kids, elementary age kids. They're so black and white. They're very concrete. You know, they like the pros and cons, the rewards, the positive or natural consequences that works. All of it goes out the window. Not all of it, shouldn't say all of it, but a lot of it does with Teenageville. So we have to be cognizant, of the fact that we're going through this very emotional process. And without realizing it, we're projecting our losses on some level onto our kids. And we're personalizing like crazy. At least I am. I can't be the only one. Personalizing my kids' rejection. And as much as I'm a very mature person, and I'm, for the most part, a very healthy guy, and I have tons of other activities and things and friends and things I'm involved in, I have to be okay with my kids' slice from an involvement standpoint, from a connection standpoint, thinning a little bit. I'm not saying allow them to slink off into the ether. Please do not hear that it's okay to let your kid isolate for 7 hours straight from the moment they walk in, especially when there's funky smells coming out of the room. No, that's not okay. And we do need to show up and we do need to show interest. And we do need to catch them being good. And we do need to stand inside their story. And we do need to do what we can, right, to really meet them where they're at. I love talking to my kids about music. And believe it or not, they actually have some pretty decent musical taste. They put me onto some people. There's a bunch of people I can actually put them onto. It's kind of funny, some of the styles and things, like there's some quasi crossover, but for the most part, I'm okay with the fact that like I'm not gonna be cool for like maybe the next 5 years, right? Um, I don't know if you have kids that say the word sty, right? But that's like the new thing, right? Like so and so has sty as in style, right? I am not gonna have any sty anytime soon. There's just that ain't happening, right? I have to accept that. I have to be okay with that. That doesn't mean I can't say ouch when my kids say rude things to me, right? It doesn't mean I don't want them to say, oops, my bad. That was a little harsh. I'm a big fan of parents pushing back and being like, my name is mom, not bro. If that's where you're coming from. If you're okay with being referred to as bro and that in no way, shape, or form reflects a lack of respect, and they're in fact, doing a great, showing a lot of respect in other areas, that's fine too. So you got to figure out your own culture. But one of the things I just want us all to like recognize is we are grieving and mourning the loss of an era. And if we're not careful, right, we're going to view this period as bad. And it's not all bad. And we got to first and foremost like cry out a little bit, right? Not necessarily to your kids, but you could certainly share this with your partner if you got a co-parent, or you could do this in therapy, or you could do this in the woods, or you could do this in journaling, you could do this screaming, no one's in your house, right? But let's name and express, right, what we are feeling so that those feelings don't run roughshod all over us. And so we're not actually unconsciously acting out the loss of this friendship. Like this used to be our best friend. They used to treat you like you were like the bee's knees, like the cat's meat. What is it? The cat's pajamas? Did I get that right? Bee's knees, I think. Anyway, they used to treat you like you were the coolest thing, right? Like the best thing, right? You were the best. You were the bomb, right? And now you're like chopped liver, right? That's a tough transition. So let's name how we are feeling about this. Let's express it so it doesn't run roughshod all over us. The other thing is like, don't shit on yourself, right? Like I should this or I should that. We don't have to be okay with this whole experience, right? We can, where appropriate, express again when we feel that we're being hurt, right? But the couple of strategies, we got to stay curious, okay? We have to be curious to this new funky thing called adolescence, right? There's some actual cool stuff in there. Believe it or not, like your kids, as much as they think you're dumb and may treat you like you're dumb, which again, don't tolerate, don't be a doormat, but they might actually have some interesting ideas. You actually can engage them. You can actually ask them questions now, like, what do you think? You could solicit their feedback. You could put them, again, it shouldn't be exactly the same plane as you. It's not 100% a democracy, but they just got elevated. You know, they should have more voice and choice in what you do. You shouldn't just assume the entire weekend is dominated by you and you're carting them around from here and there, right? You should engage them. You know, what are you hoping to achieve this weekend? What are your needs? What is, your priority? What's your North Star? Okay, cool. So I hear that, and we got to stack some wood, right? So how do you want that to go? And I need some help, going to Home Depot and carrying some, shrubs or whatever the hell it is. There's got to be a little bit more of that. We got to have a little bit more polish in how we approach, right, our teen. Again, not ever, never want to see parents walking on eggshells or tiptoeing around teens. That's bullcrap, right? I unfortunately see so many families that let their kids walk all over them, and it kills me. I do not stand for that crap. I stand for, parents that are modeling what it looks like to be respected, self-love, healthy, open, honest communication. It's got to be respectful, always, people. Like, please stand up for yourself. Do not let your teen, that's first off creates anxiety disorders in your kid. They don't want to have that much power. Their world shouldn't be that big. So please make sure that's not happening. But yes, you do need to be like, hey, what would be your ideal weekend? What would be your ideal week, right? What is on your calendar? Stuff like that, right? And you got to let go sometimes, right? You got to be like, okay, I guess you can take the train to Boston or New York City or wherever it is, right? You gotta let them have a little more, right, autonomy and say and sway in the whole process. But one key thing for me that I have a hard time with is I work with teenagers for 23 years, and of course I've coached parents for the last decade. And do you think these parents tell me stories of their kids who are behaving incredibly well and never ever sneaking out and never ever drinking and drugging and doing, high risk behavior? And all, of course they do, right? So every day I bathe in the bathwater of high risk behavior. And so I have a little PTSD, I'm not going to lie. I think every parent on the face of the earth does, but I definitely do because I am hearing stories all day long. So what I sometimes do is go to the worst case scenario when in fact my kids separating, emerging, isolating a little, pushing back a little, doing them a little, not necessarily ominous. And in fact, again, we don't want to thwart their own individuality and autonomy because that's going to allow them to have this rugged, healthy sense of individualism because we want them to be able to navigate through the world. We want them to be able to stand up for themselves and not just be a follower. We want them to be able to push back against their friend. We want them to be able to say, hey, pull over this car. I got to get the hell out of this car. This car is not good. You never want your kid to be the quote unquote kid in the backseat of the car that's just going along for the ride, even though internally they know, right, this is not good. And they can't give themselves permission to stand up for themselves and advocate. So again, we got to stay grounded. We got to avoid going to worst case scenarios. Trust me, I live in that land and there are tons of families. Please reach out if you are in that place and you're really concerned about your kids drinking, drugging, cutting, mental health, anything. They're isolating, they're vaping too much, they're just not doing well academically. You're worried about, just their own sense of self, their mood, their anxiety, they have OCD, whatever. Please reach out to me. And please sign up for the newsletter. It's completely free. You're going to get tons of great tips, tools, and strategies right in your inbox. If you just go to the description in the podcast, you can sign up. Super easy, takes 2 seconds. You can also just go right to the Four Peaks Parents website and check that out. You can get on the newsletter that way as well. So avoid all or nothing thinking, right? That this process is an all or nothing, that they're pushing back and they're thinning the relationship, and this is how it's going to be for the rest of time. Everything has a phase. It just does. Things are cyclical. You got to know if you got a teen, again, you're not going to be cool. There's a really great New York Times article. It's probably like 5 years old now, maybe longer. And it asks kids to describe, it gave a couple of options of like, what is their idyllic version of what they want their parent to be? And there was several options for the kids' answers. And the most commonly chosen answer was a potted plant. I mean, think about that. They want us to just stay put and be like out of their space, out of their hair, like, sight unseen pretty much. Of course, except when they want that potted plant to like fork over money and rides and all this other fun stuff and vacations and bend over backwards. But again, please realize you got to stay grounded in the moment, stay out of those worst case scenarios, avoid all or nothing. Everything's situational. Push in, right? Get involved, get interested, listen to some crappy music if it's crappy music. Try your best, right, to play, Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto or whatever the hell it is, to the degree that you can tolerate that, right? Go to some interesting stuff, right? Be open to it. Accept, not crumbs, but accept what offers they're giving you and take it. Take it. Don't be too cool for school, right? Don't be desperate, right? And also make sure you diversify your life, right? Get involved in yoga, get involved in church, get involved in that over 40 soccer thing or whatever, pickleball or hot yoga or, cycling or spin or whatever that is, or whatever, read, whatever your thing is, right? Do you. Also take advantage of this healthy separation as a time not to thin the depth of your love, but if there's less and less, right, overlapping time and it's less volume, there's an opportunity for greater value. So really make sure you're pushing quality time. Make sure you're also catching them being good. Make sure that you're having a ritual, could be at dinner, could be before you go to bed, where you just ask them a question like, what's something that you feel was a gain today? Or what's something you did well today, right? Really try to do everything you can to stay open and curious and keep that Velcro there so they could attach to you. All right? I hope this was helpful. Give yourself space to grieve. It's okay. Validate that you're grieving the end of an era. This new era is not bad. I assure you it's not bad. There's so many gifts and beautiful things in the teenager, young adult landscape. It's okay to have a good cry when Facebook memories show up, but make sure you're open, you're healthy, you're taking care of yourself. That way, when and if your kid, right, is open to that connection, you're there. And also, again, never shut the door. Make sure you are not omnipresent, but present, because we don't want, again, autonomy to turn into isolation and darkness. Never a good thing. Teens in isolation or tweens, we need to make contact with our kids, and we have to risk sometimes pissing them off, right, in the process. I hope you have the most amazing week. Thank you so much for listening. Please keep spreading the word about this podcast. I need you, and I need this community to help this keep going. All right, take care. Be well. Bye. Hey everyone, Thomas here. First off, it means the world to me that you took the time to listen to my podcast. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Also, if you want to receive the latest podcast updates, as well as expert parenting tips and practical strategies for navigating your tween, teen, or young adults challenges directly to your inbox, then sign up for my newsletter. The link is in the description. And most importantly, if you're tired of feeling overwhelmed, stuck, stressed, and are losing sleep because you're constantly worried about your tween, teen, or young adult, your first step is to realize that you still have a choice and can do something about it. I'm ready to help you take action and create the results you desire today. Just go to fourpeaksparents.com and book a free strategy call. Let's do this. Last thing, while you are listening to this show, who was the one person that you thought could really benefit from hearing it? Please share it with them.